With the Minnesota Vikings selecting at 14 overall in the upcoming NFL draft, there are only 13 teams that select ahead of the Vikings. Hashtag math. But we wanted to break down what could be potentially the worst case scenario for the Vikings in terms of guys who come off the board and dudes who remain. And even though it's the worst case, it's actually not too bad. So I think the Vikings are sitting pretty at 14. Let's get into it. So these are all players that potentially could go in the top 13 teams. That's whatever. So yeah. So first four, I think this is actually very likely to happen. 4 quarterbacks, first 4 picks. Whether it's the Falcons sticking a pick in and taking a quarterback or trading out, that's whatever. But Lawrence, Wilson, Fields, Trey Lance, all off the board. Maybe even Mac Jones sneaks in there as well. Again, this isn't necessarily a mock draft in terms of where they're going to go, but 13 players off the board when the Vikings select at 14. Then next up would be Penei Sewell, Kyle Pitts. Both hurt coming off the board. And then you have Jamar Chase, Mac Jones, and Patrick Surtain. So LSU, Bama. So wide receiver 1 is off the board. Same thing with quarterback 5. So the Vikings lose leverage in that one of the quarterbacks falling to 14 could give the Vikings a great trade down opportunity because scarce resource, and I think there's a big difference between Mac Jones or Trey Lance at quarterback 5 or even Justin Fields at quarterback 5. Then you get down to Kellen Mond, Davis Mills, etc. Plus the Patriots at 15 very likely could be in on quarterback, so that would add even more importance to get the Vikings pick and just give the Vikings a little bit more draft capital. Woo! And then so Patrick Surtain coming off the board, cornerback 1. Of course, Zimmer loves his cornerbacks. And then the remaining picks would be Rashawn Slater of Northwestern going to the Cowboys, where, again, this is not a mock draft per se. This is just the top 13 players going off in whatever order. So Slater and Darrisaw both off the board. Waddle and Devontae Smith also off the board. And even though maybe we're not syncing the players up with the teams correctly, I think that this is a very realistic scenario where these 13 players are all gone by the time the Vikings are on the clock. So why is this the worst? It's a combination of who's gone and who's still on board. So the top 3 offensive linemen are gone: Penei Sewell, Slater, and Darrisaw. The big 4 receivers are gone: Kyle Pitts, yes, I consider him a wide receiver; Chase, Waddle, and Smith. Also, the big 5 quarterbacks are gone for the reasons that we talked about. So the Vikings don't really have that big trade down opportunity. And you cannot just trade down. You can't just look at the board and be like, we'll just trade down, right? So dudes who are still on board: J.C. Horn, Micah Parsons, Caleb Farley, AVT, Kwity Paye, Jalen Phillips, Tevin Jenkins, Azeez, Rousseau, Zaven Collins, Sam Cosme. And you can't just be like, we're going to trade down, right? Some team will give us a late first-round pick and a second-round pick because they'll look at the board the same way. And if you're a team like the Raiders or the Dolphins or the Bears or Washington or the Steelers or whoever, you can look at the same board and be like, we're good. We're perfectly fine taking whoever is left from these picks or even other guys by the time we're on the clock. There's really no need to trade up for a player that we're whatever about when we have similar grades on 8 to 10 of them, right? So the Vikings in this spot, like we said, this is the worst case scenario, except it ain't all bad, because if the Vikings do have to stick and pick, no problem. J.C. Horn will be an absolute nail driver. Micah Parsons would be a super sexy pick as well in terms of going BPA, but of course that's defense, and a lot of fans will be upset. What about offensive line? But if you take AVT, those same fans would be like, it's a guard. So it's sort of, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Now, ideally, one of the quarterbacks would fall, or one of the big 4 playmakers, or one of the big 3 tackles would fall, where the Vikings have options, either in trading out if a quarterback is there, or just taking the quarterback, or potentially trading out or taking the playmaker. Like, say, Devontae Smith is there at 14. Patriots probably would take him if he's available. So either the Vikings take him at 14 or another team trades up to leapfrog the Patriots. Same thing with quarterback. And if one of the big 3 tackles is there, whether it's Slater, whether it's Darrisaw, probably not going to be Penei Sewell unless there's a gas mask on video coming up. Probably it's going to take 2 gas mask bonks for Penei Sewell to fall to 14. Take him. Just take him. But like I said, J.C. Horn, yeah, absolutely in. Kid's a rock star. I would even take a shot at Caleb Farley if the back is good to go. Plus, you have Micah Parsons, absolute do-it-all physical freak at linebacker. Anthony Barr is on a 1-year deal. Same thing with Nick Vigil. Micah Parsons and Eric Kendricks would be a nice duo at linebacker going forward. Or hell, just take AVT, where we've been pissing and moaning about the offensive line. AVT, I understand. He's not a super sexy pick at 14. I understand you're taking interior offensive lineman this high in the draft. Don't care. Don't care. If at the end of the day you're coming out of the first round with a rock-solid day 1 starter on the offensive line, specifically at guard, where you can kick Ezra Cleveland out to tackle, go ahead. absolutely go ahead. And no, you cannot just trade down because you want to, because given the board, given the way that the players have come off the board at 14, the Vikings aren't really assured a spot where they have leverage to trade down. They may have options. Washington's like, hey, we'll trade down, but we'll only give you a 4th round pick. No, you're not going to take that deal. You'll stick and pick, and you'll do something with it. But like we said, even though this is the worst case scenario, it ain't bad. It ain't all bad. If the Vikings go defense, they can hammer into your offensive line in the 3rd and 4th round, where they got 6 total picks. That's where a lot of the meat of this draft is for interior offensive line as well as for offensive tackle. So not all would be lost if Zimmer gets his way and gets defense, or specifically gets another cornerback. So be your thoughts. The worst case scenario for the Vikings at 14. Let us know in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support that work? Post on the Venmo. But until next time, Skol, production value.